Hopefully you saw our case video on the Fractal Defiant R6. This is our build on the Fractal Defiant R6. This is a Threadripper 1950X system with a Designator X399. This system is all business. The only thing that didn't work in this system is a 128 gigabyte kit of G.Skill Trident Z memory. In fact, no 128 gig kit that I've tried on Threadripper has worked flawlessly. I'm waiting on an Agiza update, and I'm told that the Agiza update is going to fix it. For now, you can run half the kit, 64 gigabytes, and it works fine. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with the kit of memory. The kit of memory is great. That's just teething issues with Threadripper. I think that there's an Agiza update that's coming that's going to fix the issues, but that's a story for another time. This is our build video. What was our build experiences? What were the temperatures like? How did it work? Well, this is a Linux workstation. I've got two graphics cards. We ran the Phoronix test suite. We also added an Intel Optane 900p. Yeah, I picked up a 480 gig Intel 900p. It's in the middle here. It gives off quite a bit of heat. It was definitely necessary to add another 120 millimeter intake fan in the bottom, just so we've got two in the front and one in the bottom for drawing air in. This fan at the rear remains our only exhaust fan. Now, I did tweak the fan profile to raise the RPMs of this fan, and it made the system quite a bit louder. After some investigation, I determined that I'd accidentally changed the fan profile for the VRM fan. Yeah, the Designator has a miniature fan for the VRM, just in case the VRM gets really hot, it'll prevent throttling. I had accidentally turned that fan all the way up. Whoops. So I had to fix that fan profile in UEFI. That was system fan 1, in my case in UEFI. But after doing that, the system was basically still whisper quiet. A little bit more fan noise at the rear of the system, but out of the way it was fine. I did not have to install fans in the top. For now, I've got the 32 gigabyte G.Skill Trident Z memory in there because that'll run at 3200, no problem. While I'm waiting on the Agiza update, but long story short, this thing was a joy to build in. I don't think I care about the vertical graphics card mount, although I was still able to use some expansion slot graphics cards and the vertical graphics card, no problem. Right now I've got the WX7100 in here for workstation tasks and a GTX 1080 for pass-through gaming. The WX7100 dumps all of its heat into the case. The 1080 dumps all of its heat out the back because it's a blower style. So it is still of some concern that my one exhaust fan is just this one Fractal exhaust fan. Maybe I would replace that with something that moves more CFM or a higher RPM fan or something like that. I don't know yet. But in testing it for the last week or so, basically running benchmarks and test suite and torture tests, the whole 9 yards, the temperatures were really not super insane in my opinion. I mean, depending on the room variability, and these are a little bit subjective. This is just me using it. I'm not really worried about, all of the little details in terms of like the minutia and things like that, because your build, your fans, unless you build the exact same system, you're not gonna get the exact same results. And I think it's much better that you sort of play things by ear and know what you need to know to make your own determination with the particular parts that you have, rather than try to exactly duplicate exactly duplicate a result or buy a certain combination of parts and expect that everything will be exactly the same, because even just changing the placement of a fan a little bit, or if there's a seal that's not very good, it can affect things, and you have to sort of do that work yourself. So the parts in here, as I mentioned, gigabyte Designator X399, 32 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident Z memory. We've also got the Noctua 120 millimeter cooler and a push-pull configuration. We use the Chromax. It's like you can get custom color Noctua stuff now. So we get the industrial fans along with the white bumpers from Noctua, and we upgraded our 120 millimeter Threadripper cooler. It's in a push-pull configuration, which works really, really well, even on the 1950X. If I had it to do over again though, I would upgrade to the 140 millimeter Threadripper cooler. I think that thing is amazing. I wasn't sure that the 140 millimeter cooler would fit in this case. Turns out it does. But the 120 millimeter cooler in a push-pull configuration is pretty good, even for overclocks. I mean, 4.1 gigahertz with 1.35 volts. I feel like if I had to push to 1.4 or 1.42 volts, that probably would have been asking a little much of the 120 millimeter tower cooler from Noctua. But in this case, in this configuration, it has actually worked really well. In the future, if I do have temperature problems, I'm just gonna pop the top and put in some more fans in the top to draw the air out. Because, as I say, I've only got the one exhaust fan. But in testing, even in torture testing, even running the Phoronix test suite in Linux for days and days and days and monitoring my temperature and thermals and the whole 9 yards, running Heaven in a virtual machine at the same time because that's just how I roll, it was basically pretty good. So yeah, the Optane 900p SSD in this thing is insanely fast. There are some performance anomalies that I'm still sort of trying to chase down, but I think those performance anomalies are more to do with the Threadripper platform. That might be the subject of another different video. This video is about the joys of building in the Fractal Define R6. And I really honestly had a good time building in the Fractal Define R6. Fractal has done a really good job. I do think this is an incremental upgrade over the Fractal Define R5. I mean, the Fractal Define R5, it's hard to live up to that. The Fractal Define R5 was groundbreaking, in my opinion. The Define R6 is an incremental improvement over that for modern systems. It's not quite as groundbreaking as the R5. There are some nice features here. There are some solid options in terms of flexibility. You can reconfigure the internal layout of this case quite a bit. I found it really well suited for my particular needs, building this high-end Threadripper workstation. And the case isn't really big, you know. Earlier in life, I might have had the big case fetish, but you know, now I just want the computer to do its job and get out of the way. And this case is great at letting me have the computer do its job and get out of the way without being too much of a behemoth of a computer. Minimal RGB, it's worked out well in my case. I'm Wendell, I'm signing out, and you can find me in the Level 1 forums.